Brian Karani was a typical student at Kenyatta University. He was ambitious, broke, and always scheming to get the next coin from either friends or relatives. He lived in a modest bedsitter complex in Ruaka. He survived on Indomie, free Wi-Fi from Java House, and the dream of escaping poverty. This is the story of Brian, the crypto king of Ruaka. During the day, he attended lectures that he barely paid attention to. His nights were something else. He spent them exclusively on Telegram groups and YouTube rabbit holes. His main searches were titled, "How to Make Your First Million with Crypto." His classmates flexed iPhones, classy drip and Air Jordans. They took their dates to the art cafe. Brian rotated between Fuliza and borrowing from friends and kin to afford supper. His best friend Tony was always a few steps ahead. "Bro, sijui mbona bado unapambana na hizi hustle za kawaida?" Tony questioned. They were drinking tea at a cafe at Two Rivers Mall. "Real money iko online. Forex, crypto, hiyo ndo life," he said. When they met again the following evening, Brian was so eager to learn. "Si uniweke kwa hiyo deal bana." Tony grinned and flipped his laptop around, showing off his Binance portfolio. "Lazima ujue kuchora charts, understand trends, na uwe na guts. Crypto si mchezo," Tony said. Brian decided he had nothing to lose. That night, in his cold, silent bedsitter, he made a decision. He downloaded Binance, opened TradingView, and subscribed to a course taught by a crypto guru. He stayed up till 4 a.m. watching candlestick patterns. It was confusing, addictive, and kind of poetic. He practiced with some airdrops. These were free tokens that he was given in his virtual wallet. He did some research. He delved into crypto and the different digital currencies and tokens. He discovered Shenzi Coin, a random meme coin he found on a Kenyan crypto Twitter space. It sounded funny, named after a Swahili insult, but something about it felt right. Brian invested the $200 from his student loan and the money scraped from doing work for online clients. He woke up the next day feeling like he had been rolled over by a plant operator. The previous night had felt like a breeze. The downside was he had spent all his savings. He had to go back to his studies and the reality that he had blown his savings on a whim. 3 days later, he woke up to 16 missed notifications. And wait, what? A crypto chart that looked like Mount Kenya. His $200 investment had ballooned into $2 million. "Oh my God," he screamed, almost throwing his phone. He immediately called Tony, who almost choked on his tea. "Bro, wait, are you serious? We need to cash out right away." They rushed to a crypto over-the-counter dealer in Westlands. Within hours, Brian had wired millions into his bank account. His life flipped like a TikTok transition. His worn jeans and faded old-school Mtumba shoes were phased out. Brian bought an iPhone Pro Max 16 and rocked the latest designer drip and iced-out chains. He hired a private vehicle to be taking him to the university for studies and events. He reinvested $280,000 in different currencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Ripple, Polkadot, Dogecoin, and of course the same Shenzi coin meme coin he had started out with. He monitored the trends daily. A month and a half later, the money had blown up to an unspeakable figure. He was living the Nairobi dream. He moved into a Ruaka penthouse overlooking the Roslyn Riviera. He gifted himself a brand new Mercedes G-Wagon and had it customized with personal number plates bearing his acronym. He added a Porsche Cayenne GTS about a week later. He blew up on Instagram. #CryptoKing trended every week. Together with Tony, they popped champagne bottles like crazy at Milan and sipped cocktails at the Kiza Lounge. They patronized parties with the rich kids of the who's who in Nairobi. But behind the filters and flashy stories, shadows started creeping in. It began with the DMs from fake crypto projects. Then classmates he hadn't seen since high school started showing up at his gate. See, you remember I used to buy you mandazi? Sai niko na kaidia kabiashara. Nisaidie 500k too? Then the dark side unfolded. An anonymous message popped up. Congratulations, Crypto King. Let's talk business. We know where you live. Brian's pressure skyrocketed. He had heard whispers on Telegram about the Nairobi crypto cartel, allegedly run by rogue traders with deep pockets and deeper threats. It wasn't just a rumor. It was real. Mazee hebu cash out faster before kanuke. Tony cautioned when he shared the messages with him. That night, as they left Milan at 3 a.m., they noticed a black Subaru tailing them. Bro, aren't we just paranoid? Tony asked nervously. Brian shook his head. Mazee, Nairobi na Subaru. Brian finally met the man behind the message, Don Karanja, a smart, sharp-tongued investor with rumored connections to the dark web, politicians, and hitmen. You made millions in our playground without paying tribute, Karanja said, swallowing his whiskey. I didn't know, Brian stuttered. Ignorance is expensive. You either join us or lose everything, Karanja summarized. That was the moment Brian realized he was no longer playing with tokens and charts. He was a pawn in a game checkmated by a swindler. Brian was forced to join elaborate scams. He launched fake tokens, pump and dump schemes, and laundered cash through shell startups. The money was unreal. However, the fear was on a different level. Every night, Brian dreamed of disappearing, just like the Nigerian trader who vanished in Kilimani and the South Sudanese whale who slipped from his balcony. Then he got a cringe-worthy warning. Tony appeared on the 9 p.m. news. University student goes missing in suspected crypto deal gone wrong. Brian was scared beyond comprehension. Tony had been more than a friend. He was the one who started it all. Bro, these guys are too dangerous. Tony had warned him when he reinvested part of the Bitcoin. We need a way out. Tony was gone, and Brian knew he was next. He had to come up with a plan very fast. Using his remaining Bitcoin, he secured a passport and visa, liquidated his assets, and booked a one-way flight to Switzerland. He wore a hoodie, sunglasses, and faked a smile as he walked into Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. But just as he handed over his travel documents at the immigration checkpoint, a heavy hand gripped his shoulder. Brian Karani, you are under arrest. The news exploded across the nation. From Ruaka to riches to ruin. Brian's story was the most watched piece on Citizen TV and all socials. Karanja's entire network was exposed. Brian had helped the investigators. He wasn't innocent but had confessed to everything. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison. But thanks to his cooperation, his sentence was reduced to 6 months. He was imprisoned in the prison's fintech rehab unit, where reform programs for white-collar crimes had just been introduced. He taught inmates about financial literacy and how crypto could be ethical, transparent, and revolutionary. He even created a curriculum for underprivileged youth. By the time he was released, he wasn't just a cautionary tale. He was a new man. In January this year, Brian returned to Ruaka, not to flex, but to build. With help from a local NGO and some honest investors, he launched Crypto Soko Africa. This was an educational platform for young Africans willing to learn blockchain development, crypto safety, and ethical fintech entrepreneurship. He became a influencer of sorts. His first office was the Java house where he used to enjoy free Wi-Fi. The platform blew up. The Ethereum Foundation and even the Kenyan government were interested. Brian started appearing on podcasts. Schools invited him for his mentorship talks. Parents who once called crypto a pyramid scheme wanted their kids to attend his boot camps. He was invited to KU as a guest speaker. Mimi ni Brian Karani. Used to eat Indomie in Ruaka. Almost lost everything. But today, I'm here to tell you don't chase money. Chase value. The rest will follow. As the crowd of students cheered, he saw a familiar face in the front row with tears in his eyes. It was Tony's younger brother, Sammy. Thanks for keeping his dream alive, he whispered. Brian smiled. He may have fallen in the past, but now he stood taller than ever. Not as the crypto king of Ruaka, but as a kingmaker, building features one lesson at a time. Would you like another interesting story? Subscribe to Walnut Stories and like my channel. Turn on the notifications button so you know as soon as I post the next video. Please share it with others so they can enjoy it too. See you in the next Walnut Story. Bye!